As I introduce you, you can just show your hand so that they know that
We are
who's
good to go, sir.
okay. We go.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Good morning, everybody, once again, and welcome back after this quick short break. We are now going to start the session and the panel discussion, which is the session titled "Defining the New Normal in Supply Chain and Warehousing." We have an extremely strong and agile panel of speakers here. I would like to introduce to you first Mr. Atul Holkar. He's the head SCM, Varun Beverages Limited, Pepsi Cola. Second on our panel is Mr. Samrat Ghosh. Samrat is the general manager, head supply chain, Wellspun Group, Mumbai. And the third person on the panel, I'd like to welcome Mr. V. Raju. V. Raju is the senior vice president, contract logistics with Avashya CCI, and is stationed in Mumbai at the head office. The fourth panelist, we have our Mr. Kumar Gaurav. Kumar is the general manager and the head supply chain for Tata Chroma, and he is located in Mumbai. Atul has joined us from Gurgaon. Gurgaon. The rest, the three panelists are from Bombay. Gentlemen, I think what is important for us, I will just quickly narrate what is the key objective. The key objective of this session, is to evaluate the prominent links of the supply chain with respect to the challenges that are faced on account of this pandemic that has led to the redefining of the new normal, or rather defining of the new normal. The stakes for getting the calibration right are quite high indeed. And I think all of us are facing this abnormality. And I'm not very sure how many of us have got it right, and how many of us will take how much time to get it right. Companies will need to recapture market share of their products and services as demand recovers, while minimizing overproduction and excess operating expenses. They also need to be able to quickly spot new emerging opportunities in the market. In some areas, they will need to right size their operations to match the post crisis new normal steady state. The earlier they can get insight into what this might look like, the better prepared they can be. The links that we will evaluate here are supply chain strategy, suppliers and procurement strategies, distribution channels, and warehouse and order fulfillment. These are the four specific areas that we will be trying to gain the insights from our experts on the panel. And as you see, we have a contract logistics company, which is a third-party logistics service providing company. We have three well-known brands in India, leading brands in India, which are manufacturing and into retail distribution, to modern retail distribution methods, to using e-commerce, are using several methods of reaching the products to their customers. So I'm sure there's going to be a huge experience of 4 months and before that to be able to integrate that and share their insights, very valuable insights. I would like specific attention to be given to all the answers that are being made. This is a very great opportunity that we have these four leaders with us. They are thought leaders and leaders in their own rights. Please enjoy the session as I ask the questions on your behalf. Thank you very much. Atul, I would like to start with you. What has been actually running in my mind, and most of our attendees would like to know that what are these new strategies that you need to prepare to handle and counter the challenges of PepsiCo, that the challenges that PepsiCo has faced in the past 4 months. With these strategies, are you going to now create some new normal going forward, or would you just continue with whatever you were doing earlier? Atul.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone, and it's great and it's a privilege to join all of you in this amazing webinar with highly accomplished people in the panel as well as on the other side of the camera. Right. So, Arif, besides PepsiCo, I would also like to give a small input as to what exactly is happening. So, firstly, being a supply chain professional for more than 3 decades, I'm also an army veteran, and I've just started my small startup called Art of Working, right? So, obviously, it tells you how exactly you need to work. Being a military veteran, I can tell you that this is still the fog of war, and the situation is still evolving. I mean, the it's a kind of a pandemic that has hit the world, and we do not know what are the answers because it's not yet over. In fact, if you look into the news channels now, it is now going towards a larger implication as to what exactly is happening.
Yeah.
Besides the entire health issue, there is, and secondly, this is, someone was telling me like it's a war. No, it's not a war is a very planned move. You can see it on the Chinese border as of now. It's a very planned move. You know what enemy is doing. This was like a terrorist attack, but then it impacted everyone else in the world. There's no savior around. There's no other country whom you could go for ask for help, right?
Yeah.
So this kind of a stunning attack that came suddenly with no possibility. And see, when we used to plan from plan A to B to C to D, this was not even in the alphabet number of Z. No one ever thought a pandemic would hit. It was all fictional by nature. One part. Second part is that this is also evolving situation vis-a-vis global geopolitical, right? You look into, just look into Amazon, right now you can click and see in Amazon that the thing which cost us 3,000 rupees 1 week back is 10,000 rupees now because it's being imported out of China. Complete global supply chain is being shaken up. Will this settle down? No, I don't think it will settle down. Both from the perspective of pandemic and also from the perspective of the geopolitical situation. Probably your supply base are going to shift all out of China and get into Vietnam, Taiwan, probably US for that matter. And as supply chain professionals, we have to be ready for all this, right? As far as Pepsi is concerned, they, over a period of time, they have reacted to this situation. See, there is a difference between reacting to a situation and responding to the situation. You at this stage, or any business or that matter, is reacting. Today it's so dynamic. Till yesterday Chennai was open, Chennai is closed today. 8 parts of Gurgaon have been ordered to be closed today. Tomorrow, another 5 may close and 4 may again open. So it's a very evolving, dynamic situation. We do not have any strategy as of now. We are only looking at how to deal with the emerging situation. Probably 6 months down the lane, 8 months down the lane, we would have a very clear picture, and then we'll start drawing lessons. And I am also worried there's another virus which is coming from China. Today only it was in a major opening. This is a different virus. We may have to live with this kind of life for years to come, because now this particular pandemic is not a one go or one time thing. The Even the evils of the world called terrorism would understand the high cost benefit of using a pandemic like this to shake up the world. So we should be
Okay.
mentally and psychologically prepared for this. So we are, in PepsiCo, we are just reacting to it, and response will come in period of time.
Thank you very much. Fine, your time is up, and therefore I thought, I think
No,
it's
no,
just in
perfect,
time,
perfect.
just in time, just in time. Thank you. I really like the phrase that you said. This is fog of war. I'm sure it's a very common phrase in the army, but we are getting slowly acquainted to these type of phrases. But yes, it's completely fog. I don't think that visibility is actually not is very very poor. Let me quickly come to Samrat. Samrat, same question to you. Are there new strategies that you intend to prepare? I mean, I know that strategies would be prepared if we have clarity in what we want to do, as what Atul said. But are there certain things that you have now decided that this is going to be my new strategy in order to be able to, based on the experience of 4 months? I mean, at Wellspun, what's happening on strategic level?
Right, right. Thanks and good morning, everyone. I completely agree with Atul that we are reacting. Everyone is reacting. But I would also say, while we are reacting, necessity is the mother of all invention. Right? We have never thought the one of the things which is going around in Westman is the digital culture and the digital evolution. Okay, certain things which could be done very easily digitally. We never bothered to do them. Right now, There's not a choice. Okay, we are going 3 steps faster and 2 steps falling back, but again we are learning in the journey, and that's a huge digital revolution which is happening within the organization, be it in the space of warehousing, be it in the space of transportation, be it in the space of demand planning and forecasting. I mean, again, we are reacting, but while we are reacting, we are learning, and we know that this is going to stay here. You know what is interesting is when you talked about the new normal. Um, During my visits to Southeast Asia, and when I used to stay there, I used to see a lot of people wear masks. And I used to always think, back there, ghar pe, it is not going to be this way. You know, it's always in that region. And now when I go out and I see, my goodness, this is happening in my country, and this is what is happening. And that is one reason why I'm mentioning this is one reason why Korea could come out of it so fast, because of they have an experience to deal with MERS, MERS, the Middle East syndrome. Right? I am sure that this is the new normal. This is going to be there. There are a lot many more pandemics happening, which will happen, and we will deal with it in a much more stronger way because of that experience. We are paying some price of it. One of them is technology. The other is how can I go to my consumers faster? Okay, rather than waiting for the retailers, distributors, the lifestyles, the malls opening up, and then people walking into them, and then government giving some more ban, and then people say, no, that's not going to work. How do I reach out to my consumer? How do I enable my retailers to be more efficient? How do I understand the retailers that yes, you open your shop, nobody is coming into you, but guess what? I have a fantastic digital catalog which I can through WhatsApp send it to your consumers if you share me the data, and then they can purchase from you. I'm just enabling you. The faster you sell, the faster they replenish, and the entire ecosystem benefits out of it. So I'll just sum up in these two things to answer your question, Arif.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. I think great and very, very, I would say, candid responses I appreciate from Atul and Samrat, that there is no strategy. We are all reacting currently. I think 4 months, there is so much of volatility that we have seen in 4 months, and the volatility continues. And I don't know till when it's going to continue. As of last night, today morning, we know that the new virus has come. So it's mostly to do with reactions, and I think we are trying to best. I understand that you're saying that we are trying to best manage our business in the given uncertainties. That's what we are doing. I think that's what great to say that. And the focus continues to remain customer order fulfillment, and I think that's what demand expectation is about. Let me come to Kumar now on this. Kumar. To you, I would like to ask this question a little differently. Which are the top 3 potential strategic changes, in supply chain management that you see in your industry sector? You come from a retail industry sector for your manufacturing of fabric and towels and bed sheets, etc. As an organization, what are those top 3 strategic changes that are taking place?
Yeah, I think good morning, everyone, and thanks for this opportunity to be a panelist on this, and it's a recent forum. So, Arif, if you'll ask what are the three potential strategic changes, so I'd like to start that right now there is only one thing which is constant. I mean, in this fog of war, and that has accelerated is a method to change and adapt to the current changing situation. Now, with this adaptability, the 3 strategies, what I personally feel should come in place is, one is obviously a very dynamic planning. I mean, it should be a very highly demand-driven planning, which will help in providing a right business operating model. And we should provide right insights on the demand planning, because I mean, eventually, what is happening is we are securing some inventory on the retail side of it, being a CDIT industry. So we are securing some inventory, and then subsequently next time, within some time, because of lockdowns, those inventories are getting obsolete. Say, for example, air conditioners. We started in March. We started securing those air conditioners, and because the stocks we expected a situation of stock out, and then suddenly this lockdown. So those stocks are lying with us. Now we have to now we are moving very fast on those stocks. So these kind of very agile demand planning is what is desired right now, which should be very adaptive. And accordingly, the supply chain should be very, very agile to cater to that kind of demand. Second is, as our eminent panelists have said, technology. So apart from right WMS and TMS, what we are working on anyways, we should start preparing our supply chain to seek inputs from latest technologies. Say, for example, artificial intelligence, IoT, advanced analytics, blockchain, whatever it is. I mean, how we can provide those. How our supply chain should be able to absorb those inputs is very, very critical.
Yeah.
third and most important parameter, which I personally feel, is your entire supply chain network realignment. I mean, right now the situation is very dynamic, and these changes are bound to be, I mean, very dynamic in nature for upcoming 6 to 8 months, because till the time, I mean, we get a vaccine and we plan for a next normal. But again, by that time, that because of this technology advantage, we can I mean we can do our entire supply chain network realignment, and it has to be a constant change what is desired. Say for example, Chennai is closed, so now how to do it? So all those stuff. So basically, uh, we should start working on a right speed, or what is going to be the fastest way to serve my order, to fulfill my order. And accordingly, I mean, how I can start deploying my inventory basis 80/20 rule is going to be a key crux in this entire business. Thanks a lot.
Very well done. Very well done. I appreciate the inputs given by you. I think the three important factors which you have mentioned are extremely apt. And I, in my keynote speech, I also mentioned. So I'm aligned with you. Demand planning, technology, and network realignment that you've talked about are very good inputs that you've given. Let me come to Raju. Raju, you come from a third party or a contract logistics service organization, and for you, it's not about one product, one company. It's multiple products, multiple companies, multiple brands, all of them having multiple SOPs, all of them facing different types of customers, demand side, etc. In an extremely, I would say, dynamic scenario. 3PL's challenges are on the dynamic scenario. So, to you, despite the situation, I would still ask you the same question. What are those three strategic changes in SCM, supply chain management, that you have seen in your industry which are arising out of these challenges and the changing market scenario?
Thanks, Arif, and a very good morning to all the viewers and also the panelists. Yes, while all three of you gave the scenario from the manufacturing angle, the only one in this panel who is going to talk about being on the contract logistics side, that is providing you and the audience with the warehousing services that we have, coupled with the other supply chain logistics services that we provide with. Well, the first question basically is, these 4 months have taught us many lessons. There is nothing constant. Things are changing by the day. We do not even know which warehouse will be open tomorrow and which warehouse we can function from or supply from to the client tomorrow. Because we plan it for tomorrow, by evening there comes an order that from tomorrow onwards there is a strict lockdown and that warehouse has to be closed. If not from the government, from the local authorities. If not from the local authorities, the local village panchayats and the gram panchayats forcibly lock up your warehouse. And this is what is happening even to our three warehouses at Panvel, Uran, and in Bhiwandi. For example, till last week, we were working very fine with Bhiwandi. We were assuring the customers of the supplies. My people were all planning to come in and work in the warehouse. We worked for 3 days. The fourth day onwards, the local authorities made it very clear that, look, the warehouse is going to be closed for the next 10 days. So how do you plan this? And what do you do with the customers' planning? That has gone totally awry. Here is where communication and forecast planning is extremely important, because we do take into our plans that, look, Bhiwandi can close down, Panvel can close down, there can be Uran disruptions and close down. So need to plan in advance. So on the day when we work, we try to take advantage of the maximum productivity on hand. Here again, another big bottleneck is availability of workers and laborers, because most of them are not available now. So it's not a normal day for us. It's a day with disruptions, which is going to be the new normal for us now going forward. So therefore, try and take help of technology. This is where your WMS really helps you find out which cargo is stored where, the locations are known. Try and take help of the stackers and the forklifts and the machines. Try and involve the human manpower to a least extent, because you do not have that much of manpower available with you. The palletized load is going to help you. So these are certain small ways in which we can really ensure. Technology tops all of them. And second is communication. Be on top of the communication. And third is forecasting and demand planning from the customer, which really helps you. What is going to be his plan over the next 5 days, 4 days?
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Little bit excess on time, but doesn't matter. I think we'll cover up as we go ahead. I think the aspect on strategy, to sum up, is that we are living in a very, very uncertain environment. Yesterday, today, and maybe going further for a very long time. However, and therefore there are no strategies per se, but there are reactions from learnings that are taking place, and some of those reactions are very vital. I think technology is something which is clearly looking as one clear common option in terms of adoption at different levels, different stages, and different depths. But technology is definitely something of great consideration. That's one aspect. Communication, definitely very important, and customer continues to remain at the center of the business. I think these are three important takeaways from this first part of the session. I move on to the next part, which is to talk about suppliers and procurement. Fine. I would request our speakers to please maintain the 2 minutes time, as otherwise we will be falling short of all the questions. Quickly, Atul, I'll come back to you. Okay. Do you think that supplier risk assessment has become a key business continuity aspect? I mean, are you realizing that that is something which needs a fair depth of understanding and diving?
To great extent, Arif, at this stage, and I can tell you one thing: whatever we learned in last 3 decades, at least whatever I learned, is now being challenged by the new scenario which is coming up, right? In a few of my interactions with top B school during last 4 months, one thing which I discussed with the professors and the faculty was we need to revise our books, and then that revision needs to be done every day. In fact, uh, see, when you look at the vendors or suppliers, that is just part of the entire network. You also need to look at the communication between the vendor to our manufacturing plants. When I say communication, it means the road communication, the supplier communication. So even if the supplier supplies, will it reach my plant? There are n number of disruptions and route, and which state is going to close the border, which port is not going to handle. Like currently, there's huge number of traffic or the containers lying in all the ports because just came from China.
Yeah.
We do not know what's there, but just came from China. So there is so much of things that is happening, and I will take that word from Raju: communication, and that is the key. And like in the army during any war or peacetime, there's something called LP and the OP, and it's called listening post and the observation post. These people are on the ground, be it your logistic person, be it your partners in supply chain, or even the sales guy. You got to break that silos, and this intelligence is more physical by nature. No machines or technology can capture this as to what is happening on ground. There's been a strike today, there has been a roadblock today, the police is not permitting that. So all these things have to come to a set of a control tower which understand which all my supplies are going to be impacted. So when you look into this, you need to not only discuss the matter with the supplier, but you also have to monitor the trucks or any transport which is moving. So during at the beginning of the lockdown, we had around 445 odd vehicles on road, and we did not know where this vehicle struck. So we had to track each and every vehicle physically understanding. Sometimes we had to walk up to the truck driver to a certain set of documents of government permissions of essential moment. So that is the level of communication, interaction, and intervention that is needed in this. So nothing is permanent at this stage. And one of the key thing is that you got to be very, very communicative in the team on a daily basis.
Okay, superb. I think that's great insight as far as this question is concerned. Just to continue with you on the second part of this question, you have basically stated here that in the new normal, one of the key things is we need to keep our ears to the ground. There is a lot of on-ground practical situations which need to be resolved on day-to-day basis, and that is the only thing that probably works as of today. So from that point of view, is supply flexibility. I mean, if I was to ask you that in the list of all the new normals of new ways of doing business, new normal as in what is new now in terms of doing business, do you see supply flexibility forming a part of that list and important as an important criteria?
Uh, in fact, Arif, I would say that to deliver in any business, flexibility is the key deliverables, and you have to be flexible in your mindset. You have to have out of box thinking. That is what is the game of supply chain all about. When used to go to war, the only sort of thing was that I will supply. There is no other question than the Lord saying that, General, you can fight the war, but please wait for me for 5 days, and you can only go from the north of the mountain, because I can't supply. There is no other option. You can have cost implication to a supply, which you can tell your bosses and tell them and let them take that business call, but flexibility is key. And I have these three important A's in supply chain and more of these kind of difficult time, and it is called agility, adaptability, and alignment. You got to be very, very agile, and that is flexibility, just part of that agility in every aspect of your thinking and doing. Adaptability, how things are evolving over a period of time. You can't have a fixated mindset and say, this is what I have learned and this is what I will do. So you got to think out of box, and then you need to be aligned to keep businesses. So break silos, walk up to salespeople, walk up to marketing people, understand what are the issues, and remove all those barriers which is there. It is not your job or my job, it's a business call. So you got to, as a supply chain professional, you got to change that mindset that it is not my job running your business. In fact, supply chain has become a function which will deliver the business in today, not the sales.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Great. Superb. I think very, very firmly stated, and I can appreciate the passion and as well as the learnings that are coming out from this, and seems to be all quite workable. Thanks for the agility, adaptability, and alignment, sharing those three A's. I'm sure it will be of great use to many of the young listeners as well here, and it would be critical for them to use it in their upcoming strategies. Samrat, what do you think are the challenges that you're facing with respect to procurement strategy? I'm sure procurement strategies are re-looked at. There's a completely new way of looking things. Can you please share with us at Wellspun how's that taking shape?
Everybody talks about the state of the art plants. They talk about how good their plants are. But what happens when there is a lockdown in your plant, when the entire country is open and you are stuck, right? You might be producing the best of the stuff, or you cannot produce because there is no workers. You can't do anything. So that helped us think that whatever we may claim, okay, that is okay. But how can we understand, how can we have a multi-supply network? How can we have more of vendors? How can we collaborate with a lot of various people? And it is not just a give and take. How do we develop vendors? How do we develop at various parts of the geography? And as Atul also mentioned, not only within India, say for an example, can I have a plant in Nepal supplying to my northeast? For an example, can I have, so I don't want to consider boundaries, and soon countries, states will realize that that's the way things are going to work if everybody has to be profitable and they have to serve the nation, right? So that is one part of it. That how can I have a multi-supply network? How can I collaborate with them better? How can I make sure they are as safe as we are in our factories? We might put the best of COVID precautions in our factories, but can I help them also so that they also can be so better? If they're better and if they're profitable, we win and everybody wins in the journey. So that mindset is very important to get developed. Number one. Number two is we talked about communication. How half of the communication challenges and battles we see are within the company itself. There are silos which are there. We talk about supply chain, we talk about systems, but still there are silos created in our minds and other things. The moment that is there, okay, things doesn't fall in place. You have to think from a customer's point of view, and all have to think. Be the design guy who's designing the bedsheet, be the sales guy. Of course, the sales guy is there, or be the machine guy who is printing something. This is going to the customer, and if I'm not doing my job well, it will. So it might sound philosophical, but that's what is very important.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Couldn't agree more that if suppliers are not healthy, if suppliers are not in place, if suppliers are not communicated, then there is no procurement. What are you procuring? So your procurement is as healthy as your suppliers are. So that I completely agree with, and that's one focus that we need to make this in our businesses as important as it is for customers focus. It is today very important to also ensure that you have the supplier focuses. So I agree with you. Quickly to Kumar, what challenges did you face with respect to your procurement strategies in the past 4 months? What are the learnings? Quickly in 2 minutes, if you can sum that up.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So, if you ask about the procurement strategy, I'd like to divide this entire piece into two parts. One is obviously the merchandise procurement.
Yeah.
So basically, the merchandise procurement is what we look at is, I mean, regularly revisit our entire supplier base depending upon this changing demand pattern across across on a pan-India basis, and depending upon the disruptions which we are looking at. Say, for example, if Chennai is closed, then what is the alternate base or alternate node for supplies or procurement of those kind of merchandise? So that needs to be very very agile, and again dependent upon my entire demand driven requirement. Right. Second part, which I'd like to emphasize on regarding the services. So, like let's say, for example, warehousing and transportation services. So those procurements also should fall in line, and I mean, depending upon the requirement, we should be able to optimize on that. Like again, so supporting. So let's say some geography is closed, then how we can support our stakeholders in terms of fixed cost. Obviously, the variable cost shouldn't be a part of it. So basically, this ecosystem requires a right communication across the channel as well as a right support system also, because it is not their fault that their geographies are closed, right?
Very
So we
good.
have to work on those scalable models and then obviously adapt to these requirements, supporting our entire partner system, be it a merchandise procurement or a service procurement, and move ahead.
Thank you. Super. Excellent. There's a lot of power in this panel. Like I can see, everybody is so well focused and directly onto the ball. Thanks. Compliments to all of you. We move to the third phase of this discussion, gentlemen, and I can see that our audiences and our listeners are probably enjoying this session. Uh, you know, uh, let's move to the distribution channel, which is probably very, very interesting on the finished goods side, is what people are more interested. Atul, what challenges did you face with respect to the distribution of your goods? I'm sure transportation was a problem. There were many shops that were closed. Modern retail was not operating. The demand shifted from modern retail to the kirana shops and e-commerce. Were you all ready? Was it just there, or you had to really battle up yourself?
Okay. So I'll tell you one thing, and I'm sure this would be a kind of set of problem which every of FMCG company at least would have faced. First and foremost was the complete inventory management. Where do you keep the inventory? What level of inventory do you keep? How do you manage the aging of this inventory, right? Then complete order fulfillment. Can you provide at least 70-75% of fill rate for all the SKUs which are being demanded, right? Getting that distribution to every stocks to every channel of distribution deep inside to the last retailer in the right quantity in a right place. For another fact which we were facing problem is how much cash that each of these retailers have. The very very small retailers may not have that kind of money.
Yeah.
What kind of support can we give it to them, right? Then getting the salespersons on the ground, right? How will we can't just send our own people and not be sensitive towards their health. What kind of deliveries can we make and still be sensitive towards that health? Can we look after people? So we had other ways of doing things, and we not only looked after our retailers, distributors, small distributors in warehouses, and try to manage inventory as much as possible. We had to break our own norms of supplying and not supplying for a certain plants, where we could also look into plant which never supplied to that particular area. But if that is where thing is, sometimes the cost will take back seat because we would not like to lose a market share, right? The margins may have to be re-looked into and say is the temporary thing, that at least my consumers should not be denied of the product which is there. So this is a flexibility of mindset. You can't be driven by one factor in these uncertain stages. You have to keep evolving on day-to-day basis and coming out with solution. And in that, the supply chains continuous discussion with the top management is key, because at the end of the day the top management cannot hold you at a gunpoint and say my cost has gone up, because at the end of the day it has to be very, very well clearly spelled out what is the aim of the top management. Is it
Yeah.
supplies or it is the cost? And if there is some balance to be, obviously every supply chain person who is listening to this current webinar understand what cost is, and we are highly cost conscious people in the system. But if suppose the material has to be supplied, then there is a cost to it, and that has to be taken on board. So we did all this, and we monitored each and every vehicle to the last, and we are still doing it. One of the methods, we also went around and distributed huge amount of product free of cost to anyone who was, on the road, right? We found police pickets which were there without water, without any drink, without any nourishment. We gave it to them as well, right? Because that is where you create firstly your brand availability, brand building, also a human factor of what the business. In
Okay.
fact, we are entering the human face of business now. And Arif, I'll just take few more seconds to tell you, gone and should be gone are the days of the unlimited greed. There has to be a time where human factor, human face in the
Yeah.
business is to come. When you
Yes.
are looking at your people, it is those humans, whether it is in warehouse, the driver, we have to be sensitive towards their health, their well-being. If one of those person falls sick, his entire family gets impacted, your warehouse will also go. So these were the challenges of the entire distribution. That, and I must tell you, the old, real warriors of this COVID, besides the doctor, have been actually the supply chain people who
Yeah.
ensured the basic essentials are supplied in the worst of the situation. Look at our people in any company for that matter, in warehousing, in transportation, the labor, the supervisor, they come in day out and feed this
Okay.
country.
Yeah.
In fact, we should acknowledge these people
Yeah.
as well.
Okay. Okay. I think you've said it all. I won't summarize this, but let's quickly move to Mr. Samrat Ghosh. We are actually running out of time, so I would directly come to the question 3 to you, Samrat. Do you see the importance of demand fulfillment flexibility in the list of the new normal?
Arif, I couldn't agree more. So there are different ways demand is getting generated. There are different ways fulfillment is happening. Okay, and I'll just be to the point and I'll let you know that in Wellspun, there are two things which are happening. First of all, we understood the demand of the health category, and we during the lockdown phase has opened up a completely new business segment, which is Wellspun Health, and we are going very strong on that, right? So be it the mask, be it the overalls, be it the disposable linens and bed sheets. Just imagine the amount of supply chain complexity which we must have faced to open up a new business and transport them, right? Now, along with that, we also opened up this omni-channel strategy on the demand fulfillment side. Be it whatever source the consumer wants the stuff, be it online, offline, can I kind of service that, say, if not from my warehouse, from my retailer space, from my distribution space, from my distributors, from a lifestyle store, for an example, which is nearby. So understanding that my warehouse is not the only one to supply the goods. It could be anywhere and everywhere. How do we look at an omni-channel approach is what we have done in this segment. Arif, yeah.
Okay, superb. I appreciate the fact that you took cognizance of the omni-channel and quickly embarked on it, taking the opportunity, cashing on the opportunity of creating a Wellspun Health, which is an alternate, using the same machines, same equipments, etc. You made alternate use of it, and I'm sure all this has really benefited the organization as well as what Atul was saying, the manpower there, which otherwise would have been idle, and they've
Absolutely.
got our source of business, etc. So
Yeah.
thanks, Samrat, on that. Kumar, coming to you, I'm sure your business has gone through a lot with, with all the
Yeah.
outlets closed. With all the outlets closed, I mean, fantastic. I'm sure great learnings. Huge amount of ingenuity and strategy would have changed. The whole thing would have changed for you. I want to
Yeah.
ask you this very clear question on demand fulfillment. Okay, you can
Yeah, I
spend 2
think,
minutes. Demand
yeah,
fulfillment
sure.
flexibility. Yeah.
I think that the era was changing at a right pace. It has only been accelerated. So basically, smartphone-driven shopping era, which was yet to come in, say, for example, 2 3 years down the line to a very deep extent, it has been preponed. So basically, the demand has shifted from offline channel to omni channel, and which I mean, the reduction in the normal demand, which is there for the offline channel, has moved to the online channel itself. So now we are not doing e-commerce. We don't call it e-commerce. We call it Q-commerce. It is quick commerce. Everything has to be quick. There's nothing called e-commerce which is lying right now. Okay. And I mean, obviously, in this omni-channel retail fulfillment has to be orchestrated as per the consumer requirement. That's the first and foremost thing. Second is obviously the emphasis on the contactless home deliveries. So that is going to be a new benchmark, at least for a retail company like us. I mean, into consumer durable and information technology. Right. I mean, so basically, this is where we have to be very very agile in planning our overall fulfillment pattern.
Okay.
And depending upon these changing dynamics and government regulations, our fulfillment has to be very very agile. That's what we have done in Tata Chroma also, and we are seeing good results. This has helped us in, I mean, retaining our overall employee strength across supply chain, because demand has shifted, but not the overall demand has gone down. So this has really helped us, I mean, keeping their jobs alive also. That's what is the
Very good. Great insight. Raju, quickly to you. Uh, do you see the importance of demand fulfillment flexibility from a 3PL perspective? I think this will be very important and interesting to understand how you have handled demand fulfillment flexibility.
Basically, I was about to give you an example. During this COVID times, the requirement of warehousing space, as demanded by the customer, has been increasing by the day. They are unable to predict you as to what number of containers are going to move in from the port. The port puts pressure that the port areas have to be evacuated. The normal customers who are with us need space on priority. Plenty of new customers also, because they are unable to find warehousing space, so they come to us and ask for warehousing space. So now how do you find it out? So you arrive at a networking of warehouses which are open, which are functional, and what type of a cargo can be accommodated in these warehouses, and when can they be accommodated? Do you have enough staff? Do you have enough means to accommodate all these warehouses? This is the planning that we do on a day-wise sked. And then at the end of the day, also share the MIs with customers and for internal decision making. Communicate this with the customer, saying that, look, tomorrow I can accommodate 100 containers of yours. Please start moving them immediately. Because there's a competition amongst customers as to who would like to make use of that space on priority. So warehousing space being at a premium, the demand fulfillment role towards the customer for a 3PL service provider is extremely important. This can purely be done by advanced planning and precision planning. And because space is at a premium now. So you got to be really professional, very quick, and quick in decision making as well.
Very good. Very good. Excellently put. Space is at a premium. Space is not easily available. And space cannot be kept redundant because it comes at a very high cost. That's the biggest challenge. Yeah. Super. Last tranche. Alish, I know we are out of time, but this is the heart of the discussion that I'm now coming to. And it's very important. Otherwise, we'll lose everything. Quickly, on warehousing and order fulfillment, I will cut down all the questions and come to one question which has to be answered by all our speakers, and it is for the benefit of the sponsors as well. So, number one, in warehousing, all the complications that we mentioned, people, technology, and let's look at technology. Fine, what are those changes that we will have to make, and what do you think will be the new normal, specifically looking at automation, technology, process automation, and so on and so forth? Please give your very valuable insights. 2 minutes each. Quickly, one by one. Atul, Samrat, Kumar, and Raju. Start, please.
Okay, so to specifically say as to what exactly is going to happen to the warehouse, I would say that once we are out of this fog, after probably 8 to 9 months, then we will start looking at our cost, and that cost will bring in technology, whether it is retrieval system, it's automation of a warehouse, it's whether it's related to software or warehouse management system, that will drive, because companies will come under tremendous pressure of cutting cost. And when I have seen in my lifetime, the cost is only cut in supply chain, right? So we better be prepared that we have to cut our cost. So this is in fact the best time to contact as many people as possible and find what are the areas of operation. Besides being looking into that entire automation technology that exists, you still have to keep handling the crisis that it will continue to unfold for another say few months, right? At least for a year, I can say that. I would take the word what Kumar used, that we were already in a progression or momentum of change of industry 4.0.
Yeah.
The entire decade has been compressed into just 2 to 3 years. So whatever we were planning to happen in next one decade in our way of working, thinking, technological changes will happen in next 2 to 3 days. So we as a civilization have jumped a decade. Please understand that
Very good.
technology will be key into that area, and you will be globally challenged for your supply chain. The global supply chains will not exist the way it is going to exist.
Super.
The supply chain, the way we see it now, is going to be zero in next 5 years. We need to be prepared for the onslaught that is going to come. It will not be by request, it will be forced upon us to think about like this.
Very good. I appreciate your optimism, and I think this is a super point. 3 years, 10 years crunched into 3 years. Super point. Let's move to Samrat, please. Uh, Same question,
Ye-
please.
Yes, yes, Arif, thanks. So, Arif, again, I'll just dissect this into two ways. One is the usual, we need to have the WMS in place, but it is not just the WMS and not just the connections available. It is a complete dissection and analytics which goes behind it. Can I use some machine learning? Can I understand the cost to store per SKU? Okay, how much I am paying? Okay, per SKU. How many months I am storing that, rather than saying, oh, my entire yearly cost was say 10 crores as my warehousing budget. Okay, can I get down to that particular SKU and say that you have taken so much time and space and money? Number one. The other part is that Welspun also forayed into the ASRS system, okay, advanced storage and retrieval system, and then that's definitely helping us with a very less manpower in one part of the country. We are operating that, and most of the systems are required as we move into this new normal. That's how I want to sum it.
Yeah, I think this warehouse operations and order fulfillment. Basically, I mean, since the entire order pattern is shifting from, say, your B2B to a typical B2C operation. So basically, warehousing design plays a very important role as far as the correct material flow is required, and operational requirement and manpower productivities are essential. Now the question is that, let's say, if at all if more manpower is required and processes are not aligned, that is going to be a very key critical challenge. So obviously we need to plan for a different kind of transformation. I mean, so right now it is like from man to goods, which is like a normal picking kind of thing. We have that things will start transforming to a fully automated kind of setup, which is goods to person. The layouts and the entire logistic facility will be, I mean, entire design will be transformed by automation and big data. I mean, depending upon what kind of demand which you are going to plan, and accordingly how we are going to plan the entire design of the warehouse. Development of high bay warehouses with utilization of vertical spaces, so that we can reduce our dependencies on manpower, because these kind of epidemics are resulting in lesser availability of manpower and resulting in a delayed fulfillment. And subsequently, yeah, I mean, these smart warehouses will have multiple hardwares, like let's say robots, automated stacking systems, mechanical arms, AGVs connected with connected with IoTs, and softwares which will help us in AI enabled systems. So obviously all these
Okay.
entire things will lead to right surveillance, right stock management, right utilization, and I mean managing the overall traffic inside the warehouse to have a very fast set of fulfillment. I mean, depending upon the constraint conditions. So all these things will start
Okay.
happening, and I think this is going to be the major change which we are going to look up in next 3 to 4 years across the chain.
Great. It's very comforting to hear, that manufacturers and brand owners are saying that a lot of technology changes and adoption is going to take place. Fine. Raju, you are constrained by whatever clients are willing to pay you. Okay. Uh, so for you, technology is as much jitni shakar utni mitha. Okay. So it's like that.
मैं तो यही कह रहा हूँ सर कि
What are you going to do?
मैं तो यही कह रहा हूँ कि जो कस्टमर्स जैसे टाटा क्रोम हो गई या वेल्सपन हो गया या वरुण बेवरेजेस हो गए, if customers are like them, willing to invest and go for the modernization and the automation, then we'll be the happiest people in the world.
Okay.
But having said that, things have changing. It's no more the old go down and no more the old warehouse. Today, Safety, security are equally an important part in every warehousing operation. So the utility, the use of sprinklers, the use of alarms, the use of hydrant systems, etc., within the warehouse also form an important part of automation. A racking system has helped both the customer as well as the service provider because it provides a safe stack for a unitized load. Because these days, most of the cargo imported come in pallets. Hence, it is easier to handle them with less manpower. Also, let us not forget the use of WMS because WMS helps us in inventory management as well.
Very good.
Remember, when there are plenty of SKUs to be handled in a warehouse, the biggest challenge in front of any warehousing service provider is maintaining the inventory accuracy because every single part lost is a huge debit which the customer puts on you above over and above the accepted loss. So and also the automatic storage and retrieval system that is slowly gaining ground. Hence, I personally feel that the automation has come to stay, along with the RFID, along with the software systems, along with the IT processes, along with the analytics capability in your software. This automation will be the norm for the future, and we need to gear it up. Of course, never forget that we need to balance between availability of manpower and the automation to go
Okay.
on simultaneously. Thank you.
Superb. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for the superb insights. Technology is here to stay. I think that's a very catchy word. Find people. We have covered people. We have covered processes. There is so much that has been discussed in this very short 45, 50 minutes. Thank you very much for the insights. I am now here to take questions. If any of the audiences have questions, you may kindly raise your hand, and Alish will come in, and he's going to pick up and let us know who has what questions, and we'll probably try our best to quickly answer them in the given limited time. Alish, over to you. Alish?
Yes, we are waiting for the audience to raise their hands and ask a question.
Okay. So I can see one raise of hand. Alish, if you can pick that. Mr. Amandeep Saini or Mr. Sudhanshu Kumar? Yes, please. Sudhanshu, he's been given the mic.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Please ask your question.
Am I audible?
Very much, please.
Yeah. So basically, my question is more towards procurement side. I just wanted to understand in the current scenario where we are ended up in the post COVID-19 impact which is happening in the entire business segment, and also the China war impact. I mean, how we need to strategize our vendor development strategy, vendor auditing strategy, and ensuring the availability of the material at any given point in time. And especially, I'm asking this question from the perspective of FMCG sector because I am into the FMCG side of the business.
Yeah. Who would like to take the question?
So,
Atul. Okay. Yeah. Fine.
Coming from the FMCG sector, that excites
Yes.
me anyway. So, Sudhanshu, firstly is you need to force the salespeople for their sales forecast for a period of at least 1 year, right? It's not easy. It's not, it may not be possible to level of accuracy, but you need to understand what do they intend to sell. Second point is, till now, despite all the issues which we are having with China, I don't think in a short period of time there will be any ban because this entire situation is still unfolding. Chinese don't want a war. We don't want a war, right? But to squeeze Chinese out of Ladakh and this region, Indian government will step up its pressure like we did it onto these apps recently. And what pressures we have is we have pressures on the economic front. So my suggestion is that you should evaluate this fast and stock up your raw material or intermediate goods, whatever you require. Meanwhile, also you should look at alternative sources across the world, right? There would be Vietnam, Southeast Asia, probably South America for all that matter, because Indian government is going to give preference to all the nations who are friendly to us and bring a counterweight to China. Second point is internally also you need to look into more vendors who can develop this entire set of raw material which you want. So that is not all Atmanirbharta, right? So
Okay.
you got to have an absolute open mind and ensure that whatever you want, which part of the world is going to supply. Looking into the entire vendor management, looking into the reliability, the quality of the product is obviously going to happen, but at least start finding the source. Don't wait for the last day. It can happen any day. After 2 months, suddenly we have problems with China and feel no more trade with that. That may not happen, but fact of the matter is, who says it can't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
Thank
Can
you,
we have
Arun.
the next
Thank you
question?
so much.
Yeah. Can we have a next question, please? Yeah. Sughamitra Ghosh or Sanghamitra Ghosh, sorry.
Hi everyone. Am I
Hello.
on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So my question is related to procurement. Obviously, because of this pandemic, there's shortage of transportation, shortage of drivers, uh, and at the same time, though crude oil prices are going down, our diesel prices are going up. So how do you deal with the vendors at this moment? Because there are a lot of cost pressure from the company also. So my my question is how to deal with the situation, how to handle this.
So, uh, Samrat, would you like to take this question, please? Yeah.
I can take that up. Thanks, Ari. Sanghamitra, your question is towards procurement, but to also towards the challenges you are dealing with logistics, right?
Yeah.
That's how I want to frame your question as. And that's not only with the procurement, this is also with the last mile delivery, and that's also the finished goods. So everywhere, the logistics is across.
Correct.
So here we face the same situation. Okay, I was giving the example of Welspun Health. Imagine someone giving 50 lakh pieces of masks order and they want to see some samples, right? They just want to see some samples. We can't even let the samples go to them. It's so difficult. There is no courier working. I know I have multi-crore order in my hand and I can't even give a sample. They're like, are you guys crazy? Give me the sample, I'll give you the order. So those are the challenges we faced. Now, one thing that we did out of everything, from a solution perspective, is that we work with multiple vendors, multiple transport companies, and there some of them are very big MNCs, transportation companies, and some of them are very very small, in terms of the business size, in terms of how they operate, not very structured. But guess what? During those times, in April, May, and part of June, they were the ones who were the most helpful to us, right? They did some, as we call in India, jugaad logistics, and they help. I don't know how. They said, "Sir, कर देंगे. आप दीजिए माल, हम कुछ करते हैं." They went through a cargo mode, they went through a bus mode, they went through I don't know what all they used, but they delivered our products. So it helped. There is no perfect solution saying that we lockdown everything will happen, but yeah, certain combinations we use to transport our goods. But it's a challenge.
Yeah. So I think, Sanghamitra, your question that fuel prices have gone up and how and customers want to keep the price low. Fine, what do we do in such a scenario? Freight costs, if diesel prices go up, freight costs are bound to go up. So the like to like costs will definitely go up. You cannot say that the prices go up by 20% and the transportation cost remains the same or goes down, because it's a pure input. It's the largest input for transportation. Your methods of consolidating loads, your methods, you can try to see how you are able to maintain the same unit freight, the unit cost of freight, by either consolidating loads, by either looking at larger volumes of trucks or larger trucks to carry, so that your per unit or per ton kilometer cost goes down. Those are the only things that you can actually do. But to expect the transporter to reduce its price or not ask for an increase is something which I don't think is really workable. Atul, yeah.
You can also look at multimodal transport. We have started moving material through ships. We have moved one of our material through Bangladesh. And we have also used this railroad which is coming now, where the containers are picked up right from the factory and directly put onto the rail. So there are a lot of options which are coming, and obviously when you look into this entire cost factor, you can sit down and understand as to what exactly is going to impact. So there are multiple solutions available.
So multimodal and alternate modes is another very, very interesting. Alish, do we have time for one more question or?
Yeah, we can take a quick question, the last one
Okay.
indeed.
So Abhinav Gupta from ONGC, Petro Additions Limited, would like to ask a question. Abhinav,
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
loud and clear.
Yeah. I have one question to Mr. Atul Holkar. So you must be, sourcing different raw materials from single suppliers. Right. So in this COVID situation, how will you, optimize cost when you are sourcing from single suppliers?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, if I look into, there are two things which I can tell you. Is firstly related to my current organization, where there is only a single supplier. Obviously, there is not very many methods to do that. Only reliability, mere fact that he is a single supplier. Obviously, there is no alternate sources available. And if you look into a bottle of Pepsi, you can only understand firstly is the packaging material, and there's very little raw material that is used. Mostly it's gas, water, and the concentrate, right? So concentrate is not an issue. As far as packaging material is concerned, it's not a very sophisticated packaging material, so that works. But I must give you an example of my previous organization, one of the previous organization, which I worked with a Dutch firm, and where we had such geopolitical issues where being a European company, they had imposed sanctions on Russia when the Russia went into Crimea. Then that time we were supplying our dairy products to Russia, and suddenly we had glut of dairy products available, and we had no other place to sell, and there was so much of milk available in Europe, and we had to start looking at contracts which we had from other countries, whether it was New Zealand or something. So sometimes you have to, if it is a single source supplier, then it is better that you start developing, finding one. If you don't have one, then you got to live with it. But if you have such dynamic situation, then obviously you start looking into the time part, the cost part, the relationship. At times the relationship takes precedence over every other thing. He says this guy I need to keep him. So I mean, I would say that in this kind of environment you got to be highly flexible in thinking.
Great. Thank you very much. There is one question which has been textually communicated, sent. Alish, do you want me to take up that question? Final, last one?
Yes, sir, we can go ahead. A final one.
Okay. So the last question that I see this that Mr. Sudarshan Singh is the director of Sumeru India Private Limited. Sumeru is a manufacturer of laser screed flooring machines, and he has asked the question why no importance is given to floor in warehouses, whereas 95% of the work is done on the floor. Every forum talks about everything except floors. End users are connected only about concern only about price of floor, need to have world-class flooring to run AGVs. Okay, that question I will take up since I design warehouses, so I'll take that question up with the permission of the panel. So the environment is changing now. The type of warehouses that we are now seeing all over are all best-in-class warehouses. The efforts that are happening is to develop best-in-class warehouses. So first of all, let me explain to you. Warehouse developers are willing to develop as good a warehouse as the client wants and is ready to pay for it. Okay, so customers, first of all, or tenants need to first of all realize the importance of the infrastructure so that they can demand better infrastructure, which will lead to better buildings, better flooring, better dockyards, etc., etc. So that's one important thing. Flooring has already been seen as an important aspect, not only from a hygiene point of view, but also from a compliance perspective. FMCG floors cannot be dusty. Pharma floors cannot be dusty because now there's a very important aspect of compliance. So flooring has started taking an important lead role in the design of warehouses and the construction of large format warehouses. That's definitely happening. You can see that changing. which means that people are using are demanding laser scred floor, FM2 type of floors or FM3 floors, etc., which are floors where large panels are being casted and good finish of floor is taken so that the floors do not deteriorate while moving. You are absolutely right. As technology comes into the warehouse, material handling technology comes in, automation technology comes in, automatically the importance of the floor will become more and more because these sensitive equipments are going to be running on the floor. And you can't have undulated, non-flat, unleveled, cracked, dusted floors on which these machines are going to operate. They will not operate. You will never be able to calibrate them. You will never be able to get the best out of them. They will be having downtime, constant downtimes. So automatically, as they say, that necessity is the mother of invention. Fine. As this technology comes in onto the warehouse, automatically people are going to change their requirements, and you will see better warehouses being developed, leading to better floors in place. So it's a matter of little bit of time, and Atul summed it up very well. Whatever we had planned for the next 10 years will get crunched in 3 years' time. You would see huge amount of impetus that will come in several qualities of distribution centers and warehousing centers. So,
Can I take, before you sum it up, Arif, can I take the liberty of just saying few words?
yes,
Because
please.
I am a scholar and a teacher both, so I need to take that little thing.
Yeah, please.
And in one of my latest interaction, and this is for every one of us, I am telling, and this is what Art of Working, that is my organization, artofworking.co.in says. This is the 31st December of life. Please understand the 31st December significance in our day-to-day thing. Every 31st of December, we have been taking vows and we have been, saying that this is what I'm going to do. This one particular pandemic has given you that re-chance, another chance to relive what you wanted to do. It brought everyone onto the same level field, right? And out here, you are at the beginning of changes in the life and the world that is going to happen. You have enough of time at home. Steady and be ready for the next life which is coming up. Whether it is in supply chain, it is about blockchain, automation, IoT, sensor system, industry 4.0 related system, data analysis, 3D. By the time this pandemic is over, not only the world should change, you should change as well and be ready to face the world in a new avatar. That is what I'm dictating. This is the best time to reboot and reprogram your life.
Yes.
In fact, we are the only generation who will get this another chance to recast ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. Very well said, Atul. It's time to reset. It's time to reset so many of the things that we have been doing in old ways. Like we have changed that the upper matters, the lower does not matter anymore. Most of us are sitting with nice shirts, t-shirts. I'm not asking you what are you wearing as lowers. Okay. So that's the big new normal. Fine. Thank you very much for the great insights that all of us have added. It's been a super session full of energy, and I'm sure our audiences have actually benefited from the couple of hours that we have been together or hours. Alish, thank you very much for organizing this. Thanks to Next First and Briggs. We would now end this panel discussion. Wish you all a very good day. Please stay safe. Try to stay at home. And good luck to all of us. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Arif.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, the panel discussions here. Thank you.